talk about the entire US tech piece, who do you think is going to win the battle? And I want to also talk about, where does sort of China come in over here? Because for now, it seems that US is heading the IP and the product race, whereas it could be about all of that available at a cheaper price when it comes to China. And then, of course, you have some of the other Asian-dominated sectors, which are also sort of leading the race when it comes to hardware or the entire supply chain.
Yeah. So far, the tech companies that are winning the race in terms of profitability are without a doubt in the U.S. In terms of actual technology development, I think everybody was taken a little off guard earlier this year with developments in DeepSeek. There's no doubt that China is seeing enormous gains in terms of technological development. We have yet to see anywhere close to the fundamental profitability coming from that technological development from those companies. But you also see much more attractive valuations there, just on a per earnings basis. So, there could be some catch-up trade there. But I think for the very near future, you're likely to see continued at least strength or resilience at a minimum from some of the large cap tech in the U.S.
Yeah, and that was my point. I mean, if someone has to invest in the US in today's day and age, will they have to have exposure and a large exposure in their portfolio to AI and tech?
Not necessarily. So we also do a lot in US small caps. There's several unique differences and complementary characteristics of small caps versus large caps. Certainly, there's AI infrastructure and there's AI technology permeating down to the small cap level, but not nearly to the extent you see in large caps. And you see a lot more exposure to cyclical industries like financials, industrials. You have a lot more exposure to healthcare, which has been under pressure for the last few years. And even the makeup of the healthcare segment of small companies versus large companies are very different in terms of characteristics, growth profile, maturity, and unlike large cap and how we're talking about the valuation concerns there, you don't have that with the small caps. They're trading right around their long-term average versus their own history compared to large caps trading at a significant discount. This alone does not necessarily mean that they're going to outperform over the next 6 months, but over the longer period, it's a pretty good indicator for how they will perform relative to large caps over the long term. But we see potential catalysts in a resumption of earnings growth there. We're already starting to see those green shoots in the most recent quarters, and expectations are on the rise for future earnings growth as well.
So in the near term, though, where do you think the alpha generation opportunity is when you come to U.S. equity markets? And would you say that small caps is it?
I think it's a good place to be, and it's certainly a good complement. I would not advocate to investors to abandon what's been working for so long, especially given the fundamental profile. I think it's unlikely that you see fundamentals deteriorate for large cap tech, but there's a broad appreciation for what's been driving that move higher, and small caps, which have seen earnings significantly below previous peaks, have seen enormous headwinds from the higher for longer interest rate backdrop. Now we're starting to see that shift into a tailwind as rate cuts are well underway and continuing significantly into next year. So I think that could be a very complementary piece to a portfolio that has a key position in large cap U.S. equity to gain alpha from a similar economy, but just touching it a little bit differently.
Sure. But